Our speaker, none other than the foremost Chinese-Filipino psychiatrist and a Circassian alumnus, Dr. Jerome Go.
Thank you very much, VP Jude. Yep, thank you very much, sir, for that very kind and well-researched introduction. Wow, that was a very, very nice and humbling introduction from you, sir. Thank you so much. 感谢你. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Our participants ready? The staff of Chiang Kai-shek College. Thank you very much for being here and joining us this morning. I have been so looking forward to this lecture, and I have prepared a few slides for everybody. I know that most of our attendees are academic staff of Chiang Kai-shek, and of course, mommies and daddies, if we have some. And perhaps some students later, or I don't really mind if they will be part of this, but these slides that I prepared for all of you are all for everybody. No? So let me share my screen. Can you see my slides? Am I sharing screen now? Yes? Yes? I think you can see my slides.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
we can see.
Thank you. While we are having our lectures, I would also like to encourage the parents, the mommies, the daddies to actively participate in the chat box. Guaymang din tinga buntwe for your participation later on. Mostly are answerable by yes or no. Wasi bekwase din iken regarding these topics. What will be your opinion about the questions that I have prepared for you? That will come later on. So today's topic is mental health and coping with distance learning. Especially during this COVID season, there has been so many lectures, webinars, where we as psychiatrists or mental health experts were invited to speak about this because mental health is very crucial, especially during the COVID times. 大家好, I just want to make sure that everyone is ready. Din na u tipoy tsui, tipoy kape, as you chami tiami, I don't mind. No, please feel free, as comfortable as you are. Lang kinadit kang kuye topic hibong taike tsui tia no. How are you feeling today? Di kinauhwa hibo, as you shami buntuebo, as you shami kunnan. I hope that today is a good day for you and you're starting this Saturday, even on a weekend, with just a very comfortable conversation to think of the mental health of our kids, of the children today. This is not just the responsibility of school, of the parents, but it has to be a collaborative effort of all the sectors. Thank you very much, Sir Jude, for introducing me as an alumnus. This is me. This was me when I was on the stage of Chiang Kai-shek College. Truly the very first stage that honed my interest in performing for everyone. That's my batchmates, Jacqueline, Nicole, where we performed during the graduation ceremonies. And this was also me, part of the group during one of the class activities. And as you notice, this girl right over here was my batchmate. That's Dr. Beverly Ho, now Secretary of Assistant Secretary in the Department of Health. So Chiang Kai-shek really makes a very big part of my childhood years. Today on this webinar, I would want to wonder how many of us are like this, wearing a top formal outfit, but wearing our comfortable pajamas, shorts, or slippers. It's okay. This has become our new normal. 我相信在今仔这哦，咱是较常穿有阵啊规日无出去，就是穿裙衫、穿 shorts. But as long as we get our jobs done, that's what's important. 咱今仔日要讲在back to sit goy. These are the 5 topics of my lecture for today. What is mental health? What is the COVID reality we now face? the impact of COVID-19 on mental health, what are the online learning challenges, and what are the tips for parents, teachers, and students. Last October 10, 2020, the World Health Organization celebrated this 10-10-2020 as the World Mental Health Day. To si bet tagelang kaktit se mental health si Chin Tiong Yao. It's not just in the Philippines, umtana ti Philippines, ti Taiwan, ti Hong Kong, ti Taidiak, asi Kiltiok, sige di ti, 他们叫世界精神卫生日. So this is really a worldwide celebration wherein the world recognizes, especially during COVID season, that mental health issues affect everybody. No gender, no age, no race. Personally, I was part of Watson's Philippines activity for 10-10-2020 in partnership with a pharmaceutical company, together with a lot other companies. We had this webinar also that talked about mental health. What is health? Health is defined as a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Gun sindi hak isang tinsyong kang lang se, lan na ulisaw, lan ni kitay isang, lan na li shio, lan na si kitay isang. But when we are feeling something that regards to our mental health, lan na li kintiyong, lan na li bohwahi, o siya mi kunnan, o siya mi buntoy, lan asi u, suyaw kitay isang. Especially when we are very much overwhelmed and overburdened by these problems. Mental health is how a person feels, thinks, and acts. Lalikamkak, lalisyong, lalitongtok. This is the emotional, psychological, and social well-being of a person. Lan chunga tsue lang, lan chunga tui tai pa lang, this is also affected by our mental health. When we look at mental health, we look at biopsychosocial model. Yasyong lang se, gun papa o my dad has depression. Magkakaroon din ba ako ng depression? It is a factor, biological factor. However, it is not the only factor because you have to also consider the psychological factor and the social factors that comes with it. Ya tsue lang utsunay kang wase un papa tiay utyong pi tan si guao gua asi pletuahan ni si chun tahang tuyaho seya unsun botu tio siya mi taiji. I grew up without any mental health problem, and that's a good thing. There are also those in the katiang bohyong ito, tan si I suehan ni si chun tu tio buntue, biru to lang chonggong, bebu jinja jihun kui. These are some of the issues that may contribute to a mental health problem later in life. Why is mental health so important? Depression in particular affects 264 million people in the world. In fact, it is now known as the leading cause of disability, even ahead of cardiovascular disease or diabetes. Ti Philippine yaku si Chinchue lang unka che isang yakpiet si jong sindi hak isang. In this study, 60% of people with mental health problems won't seek the help they need. Stigma is one of the main reasons they cite. Chinchue lang to si mabuay kitse isang chong isang kasi lang utsuna ekong watao kakle uching cha ubuntue. When in fact, early intervention really prevents the worsening of a mental health problem. This is also the reason why schools like Chiang Kai-shek College and several other Filipino-Chinese schools and non-Chinese schools have launched activities where we were invited to speak about mental health, especially now with COVID-19 and online learning, because the Philippines has already enacted into a law, that's RA 11036, that requires schools, government agencies to enforce and strengthen mental health in our institutions. Lan sekay chitun tutio COVID-19, chitun ikyang u 61 million cases worldwide, while 42 million have recovered. there are 1.4 million deaths. In the Philippines, pwet kage lang, pwet get dit lang. 8 months since March that we have had our lockdown, still continuing with GCQ. We have the longest lockdown so far. And as of yesterday's statistics, we have almost 426 cases, 426,000 cases in the Philippines, among the highest in Asia. Sadit, Department of Health would took they published this bulletin that totaled 1,600 new cases and still 46 cases of deaths. Yes, generally lower compared to a couple of months ago. In fact, the Department of Health has announced that we have steadily maintained below 2,000 cases for the past 2 weeks. But is this good news? A few months ago, the Philippines ranked number 66 worldwide, Taiwan, 最好, in terms of the success in suppressing coronavirus. Taiwan, Taidiok, Otlam, Ikyangjinsiyangkong, Taikok. But the Philippines ranked number 66 in terms of succeeding in suppressing coronavirus. On October 12, the Philippines already tallied 342,000, making us number 18 worldwide. Hinatiyatyo tsuay, simbun, siya nga boy kya. That's why I want to ask you, do you ever feel stressed during this pandemic? Do we have responses in their chat box? Can you answer? Do you feel stressed during this pandemic? I want to see the chat box. Where can I find it? Okay. So, if you look at it, a lot of people are really stressed with this pandemic. Ayan, chat. Are you stressed with the pandemic? Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. Why? You see, nowadays, people are somehow traumatized because of COVID-19. Lahat tayo natatakot. Takot magka-COVID. Natatakot tayong makatagpo ng taong baka may COVID. May kakilala tayong nagka-COVID, natatakot din tayo. Or sobrang daming tao, feeling nila parang meron silang COVID symptoms. And on a mental health aspect, this is called trauma. The SWS surveyed Filipinos and they found that 86% of Filipinos are stressed by COVID-19. Sino ba ang di masistress kapag nagkaka-problem sa negosyo? Yung mga pinagbawalang lumabas, yung biglang-bigla kailangan maglunsad ng distance learning services o kaya kailangan mag-work from home. Hanggang kailan ba bago pwedeng lumabas ulit? Everyone is stressed by this. Stress is defined as the state of psychological and physiological imbalance resulting from the disparity between situational demand and the individual's ability and motivation to meet those needs. Look at this graph. Here at the green part, we have low stress. This part makes a person motivated. When you go higher, you reach peak performance. But we go further, you reach burnout and exhaustion. In this part of the graph, a person's productivity again declines when a person is already overstressed. Because of stress, people experience burnout emotionally, physically, and mentally, and this reduces productivity. This COVID-19 gives us the new concepts of social distancing. Lanbo hatang samwa saki. We cannot even attend parties. Personally, my events participation as a host and performer has dwindled from a high of every week before to perhaps every other week or once a month this past 2 months. Many of us also experience cabin fever. maybe even your kids still experience this. It is a state of mind when people develop restlessness, irritability, loneliness, distress, and boredom for being locked up at home. This is cabin fever. COVID-19 is called the fear pandemic. To get to, on the right, human in 2019, we see our pets from their cages from the zoo. In 2020, it is the pets who are roaming around and we are locked down in our houses because of the stay-home order. Sage, di kidit boy, kap chitge. In those 2 months, leading hospitals in the Philippines, in Manila, announced closure and full capacity. Tiyampay lan na umho, lan masyong tuche isang ki ikwan che isang. There we get our answers. We know that we will get treatment. Lan na hua tian tio, ni chu kuin kilai, bo hua tang, jiao Thailand. Definitely, we get alarmed. And where do we go? Lan ikia. Jinjuay lang, jinjuay kina, bo hua tang ki in a pediatrician for their vaccine. As it jinjuay tuasine, they cannot go to their OB-GYNs for their monthly checkup. Many kids or even adults could not just randomly visit their dentists because of the measures that they need to enforce. Doctors like me have shifted to teleconsultation in order for us to be able to accommodate our patients even from our homes. Titay Diok, in Wuhan, China, there was a study that documented a rise in the cases of anxiety, depression, and insomnia, especially at the height of COVID-19. Insomnia. Did you experience this? Ami boy kundit. Maybe hindi makatulog, o kaya nakakatulog pero putol-putol ang tulog, o kaya nakakatulog pero maagang nagigising. All of that means insomnia. Anxiety. 紧张, 焦虑症. Everybody experiences anxiety. Earlier, while preparing for this lecture, I experienced anxiety. People now going out may feel some sense of anxiety. Anxiety is not actually all bad. When we are anxious, we prepare better for our presentations. In fact, anxiety as a disorder is the most common mental disorder. Normal anxiety is when it is expected. It is temporary. It is protective. It makes your performance better. But when does it become a disorder? When it is unexpected. It is persistent. Tuloy-tuloy, buong araw, o kaya maya na naman. And inappropriate. Lanletya, alikintiyo, landekun, asilekintiyo, lanswipek kilay, cholikintiyo lo. So all of these make it inappropriate. During the span of COVID-19, I made these two infographics that went viral online. Sobrang dami po yung nakarelate dito sa mga symptoms. And I will go through the symptoms with you one by one. Kasi baka naranasan po ninyo ang ilan sa mga sintomas na ito. Palpitations, tachycardia, mabilis na pagtibok ng puso o yung nararamdaman natin. Kasi dapat ang pagtibok ng puso ay unconscious mechanism po yan. Hypertension, pilang iwise, hui aptitichiyang. Akala niya may high blood siya. So pumupunta siya sa cardiologist, binibigyan naman siya ng hypertensive meds. Hindi bumababa ng tuloy-tuloy. After niya uminom, tataas na naman. Until finally na-realize niya magpatingin sa psychiatrist and we were able to solve the hypertensive episodes. Chest pains, iti bosong, iti bosong. Shortness of breath, parang kinakapos po sa hininga. Lalong-lalo na po yung shortness of breath because COVID-19 has that very similar symptom. Reflux, what's yung lang uiseng, yung mga hindi po tinutunawan o parang madalas kinakabag o laging parang sinisikmurang may acid yung tiyan. Inom ng antacid pero meron din palang anxiety. Sweating, chew titilaw kwang, no? Flushing or pallor, namumutla o kaya parang nang iinit yung buong katawan. 有阵啊规身直直痛，头壳痛，把脊痛，腹肚痛，脚痛 muscle tension, very vague symptoms, tremors, chew at twat, fatigue, 牙膏辛苦 headache, 头痛 and numbness, chewless sung, yung parang ebako, huh? And of course, psychological symptoms, 一直挂意，一直惊，坐袂牢 restless, irritability, 排脾气 there's worrying thoughts, 一直挂意当挂意晒 poor concentration, 無法通專心 at 特別是暗暝袂困的 insomnia. So you may have experienced some of the symptoms. Another problem right now we face is 抑郁症 or depressive disorders. Very common is the major depressive disorder, wherein we have the depressed mood and anhedonia side by side with each other. Depressed mood, iti kang kosim for no reason or for whatever reason, lanchu kam kak bo hwa hide. Itiang pai, ya ichukitya, ya itiam Shopee, boy mikya. All of a sudden, even with Shopee, even with games, her favorite food, parang wala siyang gana. That's anhedonia. Whenever I give lectures, I tell people, depression is not just for the weak. Utsuna lang ese, ninalean ni buntueo. It means you are a weak person. Don't tell that to people who are depressed because that only makes them depressed. That invalidates what they are going through. In fact, even popular people, Paul George, admitted that he has depression. Paul George sitinchut niya NBA na Q1. We also see a lot of artistas in the Hollywood, like Robin Williams, very popular, who died of suicide. Or even for the ladies, mommies, aunties there, who are fond of fashionable bags. Kate Spade, a fashion icon, also died of suicide. These are some of the signs of depression, and let's go through it one by one. Low mood or irritability. Basta sige lang, buhahiya. Anhedonia. Anhedonia means lack of pleasure from previously activities that are enjoyable to this person. So ityang pa ya ay kipak you, ya ay kapyang iusaki, tsuksakap tsuki, hudian kan bo ay tsuki. So nawawalan ng gana dun sa mga dating gusto niyang gawin. Anhedonia po yun. Sleep disturbance. Yan po yung mga hindi makatulog sa gabi. O kaya naman, tulog ng tulog, ayaw ng kumilos. Pwede rin po yun. Same goes with appetite disturbance. Appetite disturbance means pwede po yung ayaw kumain, walang ganang kumain, or pwede din po yung stress eating, kain ng kain. Feelings of guilt and hopelessness, very negative thinking. Parang ayaw nila akong kaibigan na gaanin eh. Parang siguro hindi ako welcome sa kanila. Ako may kasalanan. So may ganong klaseng pag-iisip. Very important for the parents, thoughts of suicide. I have handled quite a lot of patients in our Filipino-Chinese community, especially, no, because of suicidal attempts of kids. Or kaya naman po, kung hindi naman po suicide, I want to call the attention of the school administrators and parents, please be aware. When you start noticing your children wearing long sleeves always. These are the kids that sometimes will have what we now see as a young phenomenon called non-suicidal self-injury. Non-suicidal, they don't intend to kill themselves to harm, but they are harming themselves by cutting themselves. Sometimes they will draw or they will lacerate their arms, their pulse, their legs, their belly. So this is a very, very alarming phenomenon right now. So teachers, parents, please be mindful of this. Psychomotor agitation and retardation. Ayaw kumilos, parang walang lakas, walang gana. Anergia, lack of energy, and inability to concentrate. Very important po yan, lalo na sa mga teachers at parents, kapag nakikita natin na ang performance ng bata ay biglang nagbago, biglang bumaba. Instead of pagalitan ang bata, let's pry and probably investigate by asking the kid if he is going through something. I want to include this slide because these are the early warning signs. As a mental health expert, I feel the concern of parents, teachers, and all the sectors in the challenging way. How do we find out our kids are already depressed? Mahirap naman po talagang ma-predict, di po ba? Kaya po, itong early warning signs somehow give us some idea when your kids manifest changes in behavior. Those kids that suddenly lock themselves up in the room, those kids that don't want to join family dinner, or when you invite them to go out, ayaw sumama. Yung mga ayaw mag-open ng camera or laging absent sa class, absenteeism or withdrawal, very important din po yan. Aggression or irritability, parang laging wala sa mood, mainit, may toyo, parang magagalitin, no? Poor performance, bumaba ang grades, and changes in eating and sleeping habits. Please be mindful of this and try to ask the kids what's happening or what may be the reason behind it. There are a lot of agencies that offer help. Some people are reluctant to see mental health experts. So you know that there are already government agencies and programs that offer this. I want to share with you that since March of 2020, local data tells us that relapse and overdose rates of major depressive disorder has increased by 30%. That's why there's so much importance in being aware. And so, especially in this modern digital time that parents or kids have so much access on social media, napakahalaga po na alam natin kung ano yung nangyayari sa buhay ng mga bata. These are some available hotlines for kids that they can call for free. In this time of the pandemic, mental health is very crucial. I am already going to the third topic in my lecture. It's very crucial for everybody. And I want our mindset to remember this. The last pandemic happened 100 years ago. This is an extraordinary time. We have to accept this for us to be able to deal with what is here and now. We are in an extraordinary time. Healthcare workers, maaaring meron pong mga magulang na nakikinig na doktor, kamag-anak na doktor, nurse, pharmacist, medtech. Kaming mga doktor po ang talagang nangunguna sa exposure sa health risk. In fact, after this lecture, I still have to go to Chinese Gen to attend to my patients in the hospital because there are patients that we need to see in the hospital. And I'm sure you understand that the hospital is the last place that you would want to be in this time of the pandemic. We are the most exposed to health risks. Even nurses, yung mga guards din po, yung mga janitors na nagtatrabaho sa hospital. Kaya ngayon ang tawag sa mga doktor, the last line of defense. Kasi po ang isang doktor kayang maggamot ng 20 patients. Sige, isang na imho, tintuepi lang, sige, isang lang. So it's very important that doctors, nurses protect ourselves. This is a card that I received from a student from one of the Chinese schools because their school requested them to make this as a project and thank frontliners in particular for the service that frontliners do. And I encourage schools and parents to do the same. No? Whenever we see yung mga nagtatrabaho sa mall, nag-o-open ng mga pinto sa guard, sa banks, let's express our gratitude. Sangdi lang, parents would definitely relate to this. We are worried about our financial status. Of course, there's so many businesses that are closing down. Employment, security. How many of my patients have parents who are working abroad and suddenly they are faced with uncertainties of their job security? And if you're not working from home, if you're not working abroad, suddenly, why? Because they got so worried when March, April, intiang pai di ni sa ni tiang xiong takpai diak ki oteng chitiam ami chitiam sa tola. Hudian kan
Bigla akong ititsulan lang Kuya Jose. So this work from home concept, being locked down at home, also impacted the parents and the business community. And tiyak si angkong ama, I hope that we all will look after our parents, our grandparents, because they are the ones who are most affected by COVID-19. Inesinte kabo kapchinchulan hian ulatlo, di konglat akabo holo. So they're the most affected by this virus. Every time I see an elder hearing about their friend succumbing, getting admitted, dying from COVID-19, I can see how affected they are. That's why most of them are getting anxious and depressed. At sila rin po yung bawal lumabas ng bahay. Kaya talagang kailangan bigyan natin ng mas matinding atensyon ang mga nakakatanda sa atin. The effects of isolation, loneliness, bawat hangkap yung Yuzuki, yung mga uncle, auntie na nakilala ko dati, takle, pay dit, pay sa ulit, jiahui. O kaya umaga, nagpupunta ng luneta para mag-tetao, mag-exercise. Now, hindi po nila magawa yon. Hindi na rin po sila makapagpa-doktor, regular check-up, regular kit-hui, every 4 months, every 3 months, hindi rin nila magawa. Sa iba, why buhat hangki tuwele pay, hindi makapunta sa church na feeling nila responsibility nila. O kaya buhat hangki putkiyang pay. It was also a very big issue. Parang nung November 1, nung araw ng patay, magpupunta po sila sa cemetery, but because of the restrictions, hindi rin sila makapunta. So it really affects their emotions. And this now is a very, very important topic that I highlighted for this lecture. The special population of the kids, the students, safe space at home. Sometimes when we think of the kids during this COVID pandemic, most are not as worried about them because they are not the population that is affected greatly by COVID. Surprisingly and thankfully, hindi po kabataan ang mas tinatamaan ng COVID-19. Kaya sila'y nananatili sa bahay at animoy, sila'y safe habang nasa bahay. They have spent months and months, days and nights of their time for online games and TikTok. And when school started, suddenly they were forced to shift to a new learning platform called distance learning. I want to ask everybody, please respond with a yes or no on the chat box. Does your kid enjoy online learning? Please respond. How do I see the chat box? Ayan. Does your kids enjoy online learning? Yeah. Meron pa ba? Yes, no, yes. Oh, marami rin yes, ha? No, no, yes. Okay, let's see. This COVID-19 has given us a time of uncertainty. Look at the opening of classes. For DepEd, from August, they shifted last minute to October 5. I also wonder, I think now Chinese schools have varying dates of start of classes. No? So, especially with this COVID-19, ang hirap pong i-uniform ang opening of classes because suddenly schools administrators have to come up with modules for students for the very first time, shifting from the usual classroom setting. Even learning nowadays have become gadget-based. Dati, ang mga bata pag umuwi nag-gadget dahil kailangan gumawa ng project, mag-download, mag-research. There was even a time that I remember bawal ang cellphone habang nasa classroom. Bawal din magdala ng mga gadget. Pero now, kailangan na meron silang gadget para ma-execute yung online learning. This is a study wherein Veritas Truth made a survey on students and found that most students feel exhausted with online classes. I think we can all relate to this. They found that 34% of students said they feel exhausted with their online class, while 30% admitted they were anxious. What are the challenges of online learning? I'm sure you will all relate to this. First, there's a lack of face-to-face supervision because the teacher is in a remote setting and the students are in their homes. Challenges in distance learning for teachers and parents. Hindi po natin makita ang bata first hand. At syempre po, yung mga magulang na kailangan ding magtrabaho at hindi rin kayang i-monitor ng one by one yung kanilang mga anak habang sila rin ay may mga sariling responsibilidad. So supervision is one of the very major challenges of distance learning. These are some of the issues raised in the several lectures I gave for academic institutions. How do you teach a grade 1 pupil how to write? I think this will require the help of a parent at home. Responding to follow-up questions when kids will have them during lectures, unless they will just type it in the chat box. How do you encourage interactive classroom dynamics? I had this lecture in a non-Chinese school at ano po ang sinabi ng estudyante? In the comment section, sabi niya, I miss having lunch with my classmates. In another Chinese school, sabi niya, Doctor, I have to, anonymous po yung nag-comment. I miss taojia. Yung the excitement of eating like a candy or a gum while you're inside the classroom. I know that it's ibawal, pero it is part of student life that they miss. It is also challenging to teach core principles of chemistry, algebra, physics, and mathematics. Challenge number 2, gadget, technology, and access. Ilan po sa atin ang nakaka-relate, hindi lang naman po yata estudyante, kahit naman po tayong mga nagtatrabaho sa bahay, work from home. Pag nawalan ng internet, how problematic are we? Nowadays, even our accounts, yung mga logs natin nasa computer na po, na kailangan ng internet to automatically update. Kapag po yung mga bata na nakikita natin na sa stress, umiinit ang ulo, walang gana, nagagalit, ayaw kumain because nawalan ng internet. Instead of baliwalain natin yung concern nila and saying, okay lang yan, nawalan lang ng internet, bakit ka nagagalit? Please don't minimize that. No? Instead, maybe you can model an example. I had this lecture and then the topic was this. And ang isa sa mga suggestion, pwede po nating sabihin, that okay, habang walang internet, siguro labas muna tayo, bili tayo ng merienda, o kaya mag-ice cream muna tayo, anak. Huwag po nating babaliwalain kasi kung tayo ay nasa-stress nang wala po yung, kunyari, for example, walang kuryente sa opisina natin, ganun din po yung epekto sa mga kabataan kapag nawawalan sila ng internet sa gitna ng online learning, kahit na sa gitna ng kanilang pag-games. This is the story of Vince. Vince is a grade 3 student. No? He was a consistent honor student. He did not like the idea of online learning. He was noted to be irritable, especially when their internet connection goes unstable. He would refuse to do his assignments and to eat. Because of this, his parents made 2 internet subscriptions for him at home. Alam niyo po, ito pong mga cases na kinikwento ko sa inyo are some of the cases that I see in clinic. But anonymous persons po ito for privacy. Totoo pong nangyayari ito. And these are situations that we really encounter in our clinics. Kids do get irritable. They get anxious. And one of the reasons why they get anxious is because when their internet stable is unwell, their classmates' internet connection may be well. And that can become a subject of envy, a subject of jealousy and insecurity. Kaya po napakahalaga na maintindihan natin at wag lang natin pagalitan yung mga kabataan kung they are stressed when they are stressed with technical issues. Social isolation. Challenge number 3. Siyempre po, dati pag pumapasok tayo sa school, we see our friends, that's part of our excitement. Ako po, when I was a kid, I was part of so many activities, extracurricular. I was part of a sports team. I was part of the student council. I would engage in class activities and extracurricular competitions. But when you are just confined in your house, it is so monotonous. Day in, day out. You no longer even know what is workspace, study space, and rest space. There's a feeling of isolation. And if you remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs in psychology, lahat po tayo ay may pangangailangan to socially interact. We are human beings, social beings, so to speak, that needs friends and colleagues. This is another case. A 9-year-old boy named Kirk who has not left home since March. Hindi siya lumalabas ng bahay. Lagi lang siyang nagmo-mobile games, TikTok, and Netflix. Pag may pasok, 7:30 yung class, 7:15 bumabangon. Hanggang mag-class ng 2 p.m. Araw-araw. He spends the rest of the day with his gadget playing. Sometimes, yung mga magulang niya nagtataka, naglalaro ba to? Or nagho-homework? Or naglalaro? Or nag-aaral? Kasi po sa kabataan ngayon, meron na silang tinatawag incognito. Wherein, hindi mo malalaman kung sila yon or hindi sila yon dun sa classroom. O kaya meron din po silang switch screen. Wherein ito yung naka-appear sa screen nila ngayon, pero pwede rin pong maglipat doon sa game habang nakikinig sila kay Lao Shi in a select hito game lang. So, this is now possible. No? Kurt even describes his situation as, I don't have friends in online learning. Walang siyubopin iulan. These, for your information, are some of the games that kids now play. Very popular will be Mobile Legends and Valorant. I remember 1 year ago, parents would ask me during lectures, "喂，最头喂见那用夜点喂夜点多多久啊? How many hours is it acceptable for them to use their games?" Nowadays, hindi na po ganun ang tanong. Kasi we have accepted that kids now use their computer, their gadget, starting from the time they study until the night when they're probably studying, doing their assignment, asynchronous or synchronous, and while they're also doing their TikTok, their Kumu, their online shopping, and games. Kaya po itong Generation Z, the young generation today, are almost affected by gadget addiction. Lahat po ng ginagawa nila ngayon, gadget-based, learning, playing, entertainment, pati pakikipagkita sa mga kaibigan, gadget-based na po ngayon. And kung titingnan natin, is it just the kids who are gadget addicted? How about the adults? Are we guilty of being bad models to our kids? Kapag po tayo'y kumakain on a Sunday when we are going out with our kids, tayo din po ba, are we devoting time for the children? Asilan ti si chun, leba ti amtang, lana si ko lang il, lana chuki, lo, kong ting. This is a fast alarming issue that parents need to pay attention to. And finally, challenge number 4, the many distractions at home. No? Lantulay, admittedly, is not the way schools are. Diba? Our houses are not built for just like how schools are built. There's so many distractions. Just like my patient Nash. He's a graduating senior student. Bigyapsang Chitsun. Be ikyang betak beko the long exams are happening. They live in a 1-bedroom unit with his immediate family, all working from home. So it means they share the internet, and their house also has a pet dog. He uses his bed as his study area. Now, ang hirap po talaga when we see students studying in their bed because it is not the most ideal situation. But some families do not have the luxury of space. So this is a classic situation wherein we need to make do with what we have. That's why distance learning from home really gives a lot of distraction and would require more discipline for the students and more encouragement and motivation from the parents and the teachers. On the chat box, may I ask you, what is your preference? If you are going to be given a chance to choose for your kids. Which would you choose? Online learning to continue or face-to-face? Given wala na pong COVID. Online learning or face-to-face? Pag wala na pong COVID, pag wala ng COVID. Saan ba yung chat box? Ayan. Online learning or face-to-face? Parang unanimous po yata ito. Face-to-face, face-to-face, face-to-face. Face-to-face, no? Face-to-face, given there's no more COVID. I understand that. Kaya po ngayon, na online learning pa din, ito po naman yung gusto kong i-encourage for the teachers, the students, and the parents. Everyone, all of us will have to cooperate and collaborate. Ito po kasi yung new reality and new normal for us in the academe. So we need to embrace it. Since this is the situation that we have, let us collaborate. Kaya I'm very happy with this lecture because this webinar gives a feedback mechanism to everybody. For the teachers, please seek feedback from families and students. Keep expectations reasonable and flexible. And finally, ensure your own well-being. When we say feedback, it would be nice for you to every once in a while ask your students how they are learning, and will there be better ways for them to learn? Saan po sila nahihirapan? At ano po ba yung pwedeng gawin to bridge that difficulty and hardship? And when we ask the students, it is also nice to ask for feedback from the parents, because the parents are seemingly the teachers at home, di po ba, for the continuing learning. This will foster a more positive relationship between the teacher and the students among all these three. Let us set our expectations reasonable and flexible. Why do I cite this? Just recently, PLDT, SMART, Converge had technical difficulties. At natutuwa po akong banggitin that schools hurriedly and readily announced no classes during those days para po maunawaan na hindi naman po talaga ma-execute ang online learning kung unstable yung internet connection. Ngayon po talagang may mga technical glitches, and it is very difficult for us to just downplay this concern. So being flexible and reasonable, hopefully, sana lang po, don't abuse this reason. So for the parents, please also enforce to your kids that this reason is only valid when it is for real. And of course, teachers, all the teachers, asityokolan kay kilan. We have to take care of ourselves. I know that this is a very challenging time. Ang gagaling nga po ng teachers kasi sila po ay biglang nag-prepare ng modules, online learning, all of a sudden in a span of few months, especially at the height when COVID was still a very, very big issue. No? It is still a big issue, pero when before the classes started, teachers had to scramble and come up with modules. And this is not easy. So I salute all teachers, no? Mga parents, let us also encourage, applaud, and thank the teachers for their efforts in making sure that this academic year continues. For the parents, strive for normalcy. Get organized and be part of the solution. I'll go through it one by one. When I say strive for normalcy, let us not tolerate or enable our kids not to prepare for their school. Huwag po nating konsintihin yung mga anak natin na may pasok ng 7:30, babangon ng 7:15. Kailangan pa rin po nating ibigay yung normalcy feeling. Tulad ng bago ka pumasok, bago yung class mo, kailangan nakapag-almusal ka na, naligo ka na, kumain ka ng mabuti, ng nasa tamang oras. Hindi rin yung parang, okay, nagka-classroom, hindi kumakain, nag-games, hindi kumakain. This is something that we need to discourage and enforce some routine of normalcy for the kids. I also would like everybody to encourage your kids to sleep on time, move and exercise, and make sure yung hygiene po nila ay hindi napapabayaan. Hindi ko ho alam kung napapansin ninyo na napakaraming kabataan ngayon dahil hindi lumalabas ng bahay, hindi kailangan magdamit ng maayos. Buong araw nakaupo, nakaharap sa kanilang mga gadget, yung mga kuko mahahaba na, yung kuko madudumi na, yung iba ayaw maligo dahil nasa gitna ng game or tournament. They're not eating properly. They don't even join the dining table during mealtime. So these are situations that we need to be very, very particular with and strive for normalcy in our homes. Get organized. If possible, hanggat makakaya, please allot a certain study area for your kids at home. It is very important for them to know that this area is my study place. Kung wala pong masyadong malaking lugar, at least meron siyang personal space wherein he can concentrate for his games and then for his classes. Now, get organized in a sense that you give this child the understanding that, okay, I will let you play later. It's okay. But I will also want you to focus on school and school alone during the time of your classes. This is being organized. And lastly, for the parents, please be part of the solution. Look at this photo. On the left, facing the teacher, the child complains, the father complains. I think at this point, as parents, no, I would like to encourage the parents to be as positive reinforcement to the kids as possible. Kapag po yung ating mga anak ay nagko-complain about the difficulty of online learning, I think what we do is we reach out to them. We try to help them find a solution and not compound to the complaint that they are expressing. We can say that, yes, I understand that this is the situation. Maybe let us also ask, how are your classmates faring? How are they doing? Paano ba sila nagko-cope din sa distance learning? Baka pwede natin gawin din yon, anak. Kasi po, mas lalong lalala yung nararamdaman, yung stress ng bata if they are already stressed, and we will make it even worse by compounding to it. Let us be part of the solution by helping the child find ways and efforts to solve and cope with online learning. Yung pong paglalagay ng backup internet, o paglalagay, meron pa nga po akong alam. And this one is a personal experience. I work from home every day and I live with my mom. And I will tell you that if you are in my social media, makikita po ninyo that I post a lot of my merienda, my lunch, my coffee, because people from home, they support me by preparing meals, checking on me once in a while. And these are things that you can do at home with your kids, or even while at work, just sending a random text message to your child, para lang po to break, di ba? Kailangan ang mga bata habang nag-aaral, may break time din sila. You know, invite them for a one-on-one conversation, lalo na po kunyari, meron po kayong 2 or 3 anak, please don't forget to allot one-on-one time with your kids. Hindi po yung parang laging kumpleto, lahat kumpleto sila. Kasi po, each child may have different needs. No? Napakahalaga din po that we have positive affirmation. Sindyong Kyokole, Kina. We also have to applaud their milestones and celebrate their milestones. Last year, academic school year, wala pong naging graduation ceremonies in school. So virtual graduations, celebrations at home as a family are important. And whenever your child does something good at home, please don't forget to recognize it. Maniwala po kayo, whenever you recognize a good behavior of a child, you will again see it next time. Makikita niyong uulitin ng bata yon, even without you speaking about it. Because you you validated that good behavior. At ang common mistake po ng mga magulang is sometimes we mistake good behavior as just normal behavior. I think let's give credit to where credit is due. Let us motivate them by positively affirming good behavior. And inspire the kids, inspire the teachers, and inspire ourselves that this is also going to end at some point. Kamakailan, meron po nitong balita na ang nakapasa at nag-number 1 sa physician licensure exam ngayong November lang ay isang anak ng mananahe at housewife. He is Dr. Lapides of UP Manila, truly inspiring because he topped national licensure exam not once but twice. In 2001, he was number 1 in the whole country in the nursing examination. And in 2020, he did it again for the doctor's licensure exam. Truly a very proud moment. For the students, time management, communicate and interact. And don't forget the most important, especially in this pandemic, engage your family. Lahat pwedeng gawin. Gusto mo mag-TikTok, gusto mo mag-Kumu, gusto mo mag-online games, gusto mo mag-aral, you can do everything as long as you allot time for it. And parents, teachers, please encourage the kids that when it is time to study, study. Okay? Communicate and interact. Nowadays, I still encourage that even though we are studying online, let us also encourage activities online. Don't forget to celebrate birthdays, meet up friends, or just random conversations initiated on a weekend. Yung mga movie nights, meron na rin po kasing movie streaming together, pwede din po yung gawin. Encourage your kids to do that. At please, make sure you spend family time. Ito po yung kumakain ng sabay-sabay. Nagkakaroon ng family activities. I have families, kids, patients who would have, alam niyo po yung mga nagbubuo sila ng puzzle together, no? O kaya nagkakaroon po sila ng board games, no? So yun na rin po yung family bonding nila na dati-rati hindi natin nagagawa. For those who are working in their, let's say, sangdiye, before tiyang pailan zaki, lanbetsut mga sizun, kinaya kulakun, tolay, kinalikun, no? Ngayon naman po, meron na po tayong panahon para sa ating mga anak at mga pamilya. So let us encourage and enforce this at home, especially at this time of holiday season. Last June, on Father's Day, I was given the chance. This is a spread of multi-specialists, different specialists, may cardiologist, meron pong dermatologist, and we were given a chance to give tips for optimal health. So from the teachers, parents, and students, these are now general tips. This is my last segment for the lecture. And as a psychiatrist, I said this. In this time of uncertainty, it is acceptable to experience a certain level of anxiety. It is human nature to try to control situations. But for now, we must learn to live in the moment and adapt to the change everybody now faces. I think natural human tendency po sa atin yung laging nag-a-anticipate for the future. We prepare for the future. But this is a pandemic. We are in an extraordinary time. And no matter how much we try to predict the future, we will not be able to do so. Let us at this moment enjoy the here and the now and level our expectations. Baka naman po sa sobrang pag-aalala natin sa future, lang itikwai, hindi na natin or nakakalimutan na natin may enjoy yung current situation natin. So let's accept our situation and live at the moment. Let us recognize the many things that we have that we cannot buy, such as time, happiness, friends, dreams, hope, love, and health. Right now we have this, and let's nurture it. Let us focus on things that are under our control. Let us filter our news sources and avoid fake news. Avoid overspending time on TV, social media. Let us stay connected with our friends and family. Make sure we have family time. And let us not forget to remain protected ourselves. Wear your face masks, wear your face shields. Don't be too comfortable and be lax in protecting ourselves. And when the need arises, when the stress is overwhelming, do not hesitate to seek help. Do not be afraid to admit that there might be a mental health issue that you are facing or your children are facing. Nowadays, we do have clinic consults. Meron po nagpupunta sa clinic as face-to-face consults. Pero meron na rin po tayong online consults wherein one patient of mine would say, kahit po hindi tayo nagkikita ng face-to-face, pwede naman po tayong mag-usap ng heart-to-heart. Especially for psychiatry, pwede po kasing mag-usap ng nasa video call. Unlike perhaps for other specialists wherein you need to examine the patient with physical exam personally. These are my affiliated institutions, and that is my contact details in case you know of somebody who might be experiencing a mental health issue today. Lastly, to conquer COVID-19, let us all succeed and do this moment of prayer. Let us spark hope on each other. Let us be grateful and count our blessings because we are still blessed to be alive at this time. Let us be kind to one another. Let us not forget to use humor and laugh and find meaning in the lives that we have today. This is my final slide. The best quote for 2020, I'm sure you've encountered this. This is not the year to get everything you want, but this is the year to appreciate everything that we have. And remember, there's no health without mental health. In order for us to be healthy, we need to be mentally healthy and physically healthy. Thank you very much.